Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lauren Learns Things. I'm Lauren. Today, I am so excited to be live coding and streaming with you all today. I have a special guest, and he is a teammate of mine at Nextmode, the Vonage API. He is all about helping others solve problems across a variety of exciting technologies, ranging from AI to IoT to identity to access management. He's all about it. He's an engineer by training, but has had always a passion for helping others navigate complex topics, both in writing and in person. And it's no surprise that he is a developer educator with us on our team. This is Zach. Hello, Zach. Welcome to the stream today.
Hey, Lauren.
So happy that you're
Awesome.
joining me again. We've streamed together, but on a different account, and we built something on my personal account. We built a management way to manage queues with SMS and Python and Flask, and that was super, super fun. But today we're going to kind of continue that, right? We're going to work on like the next steps of that tutorial that you built out.
Yeah, so what we did last time was really just a kind of a proof of concept application. We deployed it locally. Today we're going to talk about some things we can do to make it better for production. And that involves better management for our secrets. We're going to take the entire application and create a Docker file for it so that we can deploy it as a Docker container. Cool. And we're gonna just give it a production-ready application server rather than using a Flask built-in web server so that it can actually handle production web traffic a little better.
That sounds awesome. So maybe what I'll do is, let's see. So the first tutorial that we worked through was this one right here. I'm going to pop this in the chat. So if anyone wants to participate and follow along, that's just a good reference of what we did last time. But today we're going to be doing, I guess, if you will, like, Zach, was it kind of a part 2 of that tutorial?
Definitely, okay. Yeah. This is a continuation. Pretty much picks up from where the last one left off. And the last one was focusing very much on the code and how you build a Flask application and how you might interact, how you might send SMS messages using that, basics of interaction with the database. This is much more on the deployment side of things. How do you get that application you've already built ready to go so that's easy to deploy across multiple platforms?
Okay. That sounds awesome. Yeah, so kind of like the next evolution of how to use it and to make that real world scenario, if you will. That sounds neat. So, okay, let's see. Where do we, I guess, where should folks begin? Do we dive in and just follow this tutorial at the start? Maybe like go through the prereqs. I know you had me make sure and double check that I had the Docker desktop set up before we started.
Yeah, so we're going to use Docker to do this specifically. And if you're not familiar with Docker, it's one of, I guess, a couple of different kinds of container technologies. The idea being we're packaging up our application with all of the requirements that it needs to run, everything from the OS up to the application dependencies and any configuration we need. We package it all up in a way that's easily portable. And that's why they call it a container. It's kind of like a lightweight virtual machine. And we can move it. We can easily move it from hosting service to hosting service, run it locally, run it somewhere else. So, yeah, as a prereq, I asked you to have Docker installed because we'll be using that to both build our container and run it locally just to make sure it works. And then also get set up with a Heroku account and the Heroku CLI because we are going to, once we have everything built and it's working, we're going to deploy to Heroku, which is, Docker is not the only way to deploy to Heroku, but it is one of the ways. And once you have it in that standard container format, it's really easy to get it up on that platform.
Okay, cool. So they work well in tandem together. Is what I hear you saying. Okay.
Yep. And the nice thing is, like with a Docker container, it's like it will work well on Heroku, but it also works well anywhere that can run Docker. So that's really the benefit here.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I'll definitely, I'm familiar quite a bit with Heroku, and that world, but this will be my first time actually putting something into a Docker container, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
So well, yes, let's just like dive in.
Yeah.
I say hesitantly, I don't know why. I'm not nervous. You're a great teacher. I love working with you. So yeah, where you referenced the first post, and that repo, and if someone wanted the final version, they could grab this one also, which is super nice of you, but like that's not the point of this series. Let's really dive into it. So let's see, where we are managing secrets. Ooh, that's always fun on a stream. Great.
So yeah, last time we did this, we just had we had actually already done kind of the first step in this blog post, which is setting up your code to pull all your Nextmail credentials and information from environment variables.
Yeah.
That's cool because using Docker and with the Heroku platform, you can set it up very easily to control those environment variables. So if you're just in your code reading it from the environment variables, it's a standard way to access it.
Okay.
But what we're going to do is we're going to set up a .env file to hold all of those secrets.
Okay.
But before we do, we want to, if you don't already have one in your main directory for your project, you want to have a .gitignore file and a .dockerignore file, and we're going to put .env in those so that we don't accidentally push our credentials anywhere when we're pushing either a Git update somewhere or if we're pushing a Docker repo anywhere.
Okay, cool. So I've never made a Docker ignore. Is it spelled the way I would expect it to be?
Yeah, it's just Docker ignore, all lowercase.
Okay, cool. Oh, look. I mean, that's not that exciting, but it makes the whale symbol right there.
Oh, cool.
Okay, all right. Not that exciting. Sorry, that's like not that exciting. Okay, so I did that at the root of my Python Q repo. So so should I like go to the browser and search for what to put in there, or
you'll really just need two things for now. There might be more that you need. I would put in there. And you just do each of these on one line. You can do .env, because that's going to be our file with all the credentials. And then .git as well in the Docker ignore, because we don't want to be sending your Git history in your Docker deploy.
Yeah, of course.
So we only want files related to that are required for the application to run. So anything else that you are just using as part of your build or local run of the project, you can put in there as well, so that if you package up your Docker container, your Docker image, you don't have any sensitive local information.
Well, phew. Despite me having my favorite scene, which is secrets, but yeah, I mean, we don't need that right now. Okay, so let's see. So should I go into what about my git ignore?
Yeah. Check your Git ignore if you have one. It might already have .env. It's a pretty standard one. So if you don't have one, just create a new one, and we can put .env in there.
Okay. Yeah. So actually everyone. So right now Zach and I are using VS Live Share, so we're kind of using it as a Google Doc, and he can see what we're typing what I'm typing right now, not the royal we, but like me. That was something I had learned last week on Lauren Learns Things with Chris, so it was super fun to see and like kind of experiment with that. But now I feel like I'm an old pro. No, I'm not, but whatever. Anyway, so, okay, cool. So I have I'm not a pro, env in my git ignore. So that feels good.
Cool. So save both of those. And then you'll just want to create your .env file.
Yeah.
And this is the part where you will need your secrets screen.
Okay.
And you'll just want to put in, you can see it in the blog post, the format, just...
Why don't I actually just pop us, I'm going to show us the browser scene while I'm working on this right now, because this is what I'm copy and paste. Is that it? The Nexmo key secret number, that's what you want me to be doing?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep, and you want to make sure in this file, just for formatting's sake, you don't want to have any quotes necessarily around the values, because it might read those in.
Okay.
So you just want the values themselves.
Yeah.
And that your Nexmo number is just the standard format with no dashes or anything.
Okay. So I hear you saying just like pop it in as the text, no quotes around it, no special fancy anything else, just as is. And I'm doing that right now. I'm in a store and I'm singing. That's from Elf, my favorite movie. Okay, so I have his classic. Okay, so I have now my stuff in my .env file, and bada bing, bada boom, nobody saw it.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So now in your tutorial, what do you have us doing next?
So next, you could, if you wanted to, then test this locally. You could basically, I have in the tutorial a way to set all your environment variables from that .env file.
Yeah, I see that. Cool.
But you don't need to do that right now, because
we're gonna just
we tested this locally last time, and we want to test it specifically with our Docker setup locally.
We do. Okay.
And we want to have time to debug, so we'll just kind of move on to that.
Okay, cool.
So next, let's go into our main.py file, and we're just going to make a slight change in this one. If you scroll down to the very bottom, you have this bit where you're initializing your application. Basically, you're saying if you're running this from the command line, run it this way, and we have debug equals true and threaded equals true.
Okay.
Just delete both of those. We had those in there before because we were developing this as like a prototype. We had debug equals true because it makes it easier for us to basically, we can see the new updates without having to refresh the server. But now that we want this to be production, we want to take out that debug stuff because that makes it less secure.
Okay.
And then we had threaded equals true because we were telling the Flask web server to run as threaded so it could handle server sent events. That was part of the application.
Oh, that's what threading is. Okay.
Yeah, so it needs to be we need to be able to have that multi-threaded capability to do server sent events, because you have one thread that's doing the server sent events while the other one's, you've got handling your main application processing.
Okay.
But we are going to be using, rather than the Flask web server, we're going to be using G-Unicorn or Green Unicorn. It's a production level application server that can handle threading by default, and it will handle all of that for us.
Okay, so I see. So just to interrupt you politely, hi Diana, you're watching and she's saying hi. She's one of our favorite humans, and she's super excited about G Unicorn. So it's Green Unicorn or Goonicorn or what?
I've heard it pronounced a bunch of different ways.
Oh my gosh,
this
is great.
Even in their official pronunciation, they say
I have a green unicorn hair clip. I mean, if
there we go.
Yes, this is so exciting. Okay, I'm really ready for this now. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so back to your tutorial. Me make memes. So you're so funny. Hi, Dan. I'm so happy you're joining us. Let's see. So let's start with a new file named Docker file. So is that where we want to get going and bring this stuff in?
So
okay.
Now that we've made this change, for now, that's the only change you need to make to our code.
Okay.
Because we already set up for the environment file. So let's create a file. It's just called Docker file, no extensions.
Cool. And Docker. Greg is joining us. Greg is a new teammate on our team, and I'm super happy he's joining us. Okay. Oh, wait, I'm not actually typing. I'm too excited. This is why I might be the wrong person for this job, because I'm too excitable. Okay. Docker extension is recommended for, well, maybe I'll get that later, but I'll think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. So does that look okay to you?
Yeah. So I'll kind of go through these commands here. Yeah. So basically what we're doing, with the way I've heard it best described and the way I like to kind of think about it is we're building up layer by layer the environment that we need for our application to run.
Okay.
And Docker does this cool thing where it has memory of the layers you've already built. So if you need to update a layer, it only updates the ones that are at the level you're updating or lower.
Okay.
So that it saves computation, of having to rebuild stuff that's already been built. So when you're putting your Docker file together, you want to think about doing it in steps where the most general stuff is at top, and then the stuff that you might need to change more is lower down. So what we're doing...
It looks something like, so it's like you got most specific at the bottom.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, okay. So you start at the top with it's usually your OS, or you might be building upon a pre-existing image. That's generally what you're doing. So someone else has already built an image that's just a real basic. Here's an OS that you can use.
Okay.
In our example, we're saying we're using the standard Docker Python image for the Buster, the Debian Buster OS. Slim means that it's just a lightweight version of that OS. So there's a lot of system utilities or things like that might not be included. It's not the full OS. It's a lightweight version with kind of just the basics we need to run it. And then the Python, where we're setting Python and a version here. So again, this is a standard image that's available for us to just pull from.
Cool.
This is just saying we want something with the basic Python 3.6 installed, ready to go.
Okay.
So that's the first line. That's the most general thing. So
that's
then
what we're doing. General. Okay.
Yeah. Then we are copying our local requirements.txt and putting it into requirements.txt of our Docker container, the build time file system, so that we have access to it.
That's Docker's requirement.txt, this one.
Yep. Okay. So we're basically just saying copy over this specific file. And the reason we're just doing this right now instead of everything is, again, if you make later updates to your code or other things like that, we don't want to have to reinstall all the requirements unless you updated that for some reason. So what we are doing is we're copying over that requirements.txt, and then we're just doing our pip install just to install all of those. And hopefully, in most cases, if you make further updates to your code, unless you add new requirements, these 3 steps you won't have to repeat again if you rebuild your Docker image.
Okay, that makes sense. Or I'll believe it for now, if you will.
Yeah. And you'll see it in action when we run it.
Okay.
The first time you build it, it'll take longer because you're installing all of these requirements. Okay. But if you build it on later changes, all of that, it'll just zip through and it's like, I've already got this layer. You don't have to worry about it. We've built it already.
Okay. That makes sense to me. So cool. So now over back to our tutorial, you have us wanting to obviously run Gunicorn and Gevent. G-event. It's probably not Gevent.
Yeah. We're going to add this as an additional line to our Docker file. So after we install the requirements for our application, we're going to install the application using Unicorn, and then G event as well, which is used to handle threading. It's a specific requirement.
Perfect.
And the reason we're doing this here and not as part of our requirements.txt, because we could put them in. That was a choice to separate them just in case in like future iterations you wanted to change out and use a different server or something. It separates kind of the application requirements server, like the web server that's running the application, so that if you want to make updates to the web server, you can go back and change that, and it won't have to reinstall all the requirements. It just saves you some build time.
That makes sense.
Separate it out like that.
Hello, the Silent Ninja. Thank you for joining us. Okay, cool. So in the order of operations, like this again is the most specific, and maybe is something that would want to be changed as opposed to keeping it in your requirements TXT file.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just getting a little more and more specific.
Okay, I gotcha. I believe it. Okay, so back to the code or to the tutorial. We have the database wanting to be set up. So we need to, because we're deploying it.
Yeah, last time we did like kind of a manual step, just because this is such a simple 2-line thing where we just did Python in our terminal and we just ran these couple of lines. But since we're deploying it with Docker, we want it all to be automated. We're going to just create a little script for this. Okay. So you'll need a new file that's create_db.py.
Okay. And do you want me to put it at the top of my, in my directory?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I'm never typing. Oh, shoot. Okay. Create _dbpy. Okay, and pop this in. So we're going to create all from the DB. I see. All right.
Yep. So we've already set up in our main.py our definition of our database using Flask SQL Alchemy, kind of what the columns need to be. So all this is doing is saying, when you run this script, it's just going to create your database for you. If you wanted to get more advanced with this, you would probably have some stuff in here about checking to see if a database already exists, that type of thing. So there's more you can do here. This is just kind of the basics. And
that makes sense.
This will work for what we're doing.
Okay. And then you tell me that we need to go over to the Docker file and add some new pieces to that. Now that we want to take all this stuff that's in, it looks like in the app directory. And okay, cool.
So these next couple lines here, we're copying. When we say copy and we've got just the dot, that means everything in our current directory.
Okay.
We're copying it over into /app on kind of the Docker build directory.
Okay.
We're also defining our working directory as /app. So that means
you're defining it there. Cool.
When we run commands now, it's going to know to start at /app. So you could make your working directory just like wherever you are, but this is just nice to have it in a specific directory, so you know where it is. So then the next line, when we're running these commands, this is basically like just putting this into the terminal with these commands here. So there's a number of different ways in a Docker file to define what you want to have happen at runtime. For this particular use case, this one worked the best for me. But basically, we're saying just run this Python script, create db.python. So first it does that. It's going to create our database. And then we're going to kick off Unicorn server. Specifically, we're going to have G event in there to handle the threading. Okay. We're mapping our port. We're saying this, the local host here is going to be mapped to whatever port is defined by the support environment variable. We're using that. Will define a port environment variable for you.
Okay.
And then the very last bit of this is just saying kick off our main.python script and kick off that app. So it's setting up everything that we need for our app and then kicking off our application.
Okay, I believe that.
So what this will do,
okay.
Yeah. So every other step in here is part of the build process for Docker. So when we go to do a Docker build, runs all of that to container, installing all the requirements, installing the OS, like that is all part of the build process. This last line is going to be executed when you actually run your container. So you build this image, this container image. That's what everything up to the last line is about.
And then this.
And then that last line, it will just know, like, when this container is run, here's the command that you should use to kick it off. And it should, if you've done your build correctly, it'll be able to do everything in that command because you've installed all your prereq.
Well, we'll have to see.
It will give you the errors.
Cool. I mean, TBD, right? That's the whole point of it. So it looks like then, like, we're ready to test?
Yeah, let's test our Docker build. So.
I'm scared. Or I'm not. No, I'm not. It's going to be great.
Scared. No, it should be great.
Cool. So do I just run what you have there?
Yeah, make sure you have Docker running first. You probably already do. Docker desktop should be running.
I don't know. Is that how to tell? How do you test if it's running locally? Yep. Oh, okay. That's just like...
It gives you... That's one way. It usually gives you a little icon in your toolbar, too, where you can kind of check on the status of it.
Oh, yeah, I have that.
But that's
Here you can see the bottom of it. It looks like I have the opportunity... Oh, and I have it's my, like, connected, signed in. Cool. So that seems good. Okay. Docker build.
Okay, so now, now we're going to build.
Tell me.
In this case, we're using...
Sorry.
Yeah, we're using tag just to identify the image. It just makes it a lot easier to work with. Otherwise, if you don't use this tag, Docker generates its own kind of name and ID for your image, but it's going to be something very, very unwieldy. So we're just going to use QApp here as like a nice thing that we know what the name is, so we can use it later. And then
is that
we
period?
have that dot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, ooh.
And that's again just saying what we're building is this directory that we're in. So Docker is just going to look for a Docker file in wherever you tell it to build the image.
Okay. So I'm going to run it.
So hopefully it will find ours and run it.
3, 2, 1.
See what happens.
Sending some build context to Docker.
So this is the part, as I said, first time through.
Yep.
It's going to take a little while. First step is always quick because it's just pulling that from something else.
Okay.
But the second and third step, now it is downloading all those requirements, and then it's going to install all the requirements. But the great thing about doing this as a Docker container is if you are developing this way, you don't have to worry about what's installed on your computer. This is its own entirely separate environment.
Cool.
So you don't have to worry about conflicting versions of Python. You don't have to worry about conflicting libraries that support it. It's all, you're starting from a clean slate.
Cool.
So
that's really neat. And it's looked like it was 3 of 7 or something like that. So it's still kind of working.
Yeah, now it's just installing all the requirements.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it looks like over in your in the next part, you have like kind of the next thing to run the container. So I copied that just in hopes that eventually it will be ready for us.
Yeah.
4 of 7. Oh, I see. It's doing our steps. I'm sorry. Duh. Of course that is.
Yeah.
So it's
just
doing
going step by step.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's all the stuff you would do to get your environment set up by hand.
It's so cute and helpful.
It's just doing it all for you. Yeah. And there you go. Now it's finished.
Chris would be so proud.
And now, next time, if you made a change, for instance, just to your code and you didn't change anything else, the next time it builds, it would be super fast because all the requirements are installed. OS is ready to go. all it would need to do is just send a new copy of that file over, and you'd be done.
Yeah,
so
that makes
it would build super fast.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna take this piece and then just run it in there in my
terminal. Yeah. So now we're gonna run. Now we have the Docker image. We're gonna run it. So we have a running Docker container. We have a couple of tags in there. We're basically saying we want to run this. Once we run it, it's going to kind of run it in the background so it doesn't take over your terminal window. We're mapping port 5000 of the container. Port 5000.
Okay.
5000 is just what Flask used as its default, so we're just sticking with that. We're pulling in our .env file. So Docker has this, it will recognize env file. It will understand what that means. It can pull that in and set up all our environment variables for us. And then we are defining with that -e flag, we are defining one more environment variable, port equals 5000, because again, we left that as needs to be defined in our command.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason we're doing it this way, rather than sticking port in the .env file, is that this is kind of the setup we need for Heroku to work, where you can explicitly define port as a separate environment variable, whereas the rest of our environment variables are set up as Heroku config variables. So it's a little bit different. So that's why we have this kind of separation here.
Right, I'm going to do that. Okay, and it looks like it popped out a string of information.
So that's our container ID. So if you do Docker space.
Sorry, I think I lost you for a second. Docker space what?
Oh yeah, just a lower.
Gosh, it's like our connection is like suddenly odd. Lowercase s? No.
Oh no. No, go back. Just PS with no dash.
Like that? PS. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's gonna.
Yeah. Containers you have running.
Oh, cool.
So you can see it gives you a shortened version of that container ID, which you can usually use the shortened version for anything.
Versus the
and it also gives you a container name, and the names are always real goofy. That's the very last thing on there, but it tells you if it's running, what its status is, all that type of good stuff.
Neat. Okay, great. That's so exciting. So now you have.
Now you'll. Yeah. I was going to say, just go to your browser and do localhost port 5000, and you should be able to see the app running if we did everything correctly.
Localhost 5000.
Yeah.
Yes! It did it!
All right.
That's awesome.
So the great thing about doing it with Docker is if you're working from a Docker image that works, there's a lot less chance of something going wrong, because again, you're starting in that environment, so no one else's stuff is going to mess with it.
Whoa.
Which is really nice.
That's awesome. That is so cool. Okay. All right. So now what do we want to do now? Probably go back over to my tutorial.
Yeah, we'll get it ready to deploy to Heroku. There is another step in here about if you want to fully test your app.
Yeah, do the ngrok.
Kicking off ngrok, which we showed on the last one, so we don't need to do here. We'll fully test this once it gets to Heroku, make sure everything's working. But there's a step in here about just ngrok on port 5000 to be able to receive SMS messages.
Okay, cool. But we are going. We've done our ngrok step before, so we don't need to test that right now. Cool. So now on to DB things.
Yes. So we have to redo basically how we've done the database in here. So I talked last time about how we use the SQLite database, which you saw was just a file that gets created in your directory. If you're running this in a container or multiple containers, that's a problem because that file isn't shared between containers. So if you have to reboot a container, it disappears. If you are running multiple containers at the same time to scale, you don't have one source of truth. You have all these local databases that are just going to disappear once the containers stop.
Okay.
So that won't work for us.
Okay, so we need to swap this piece that we have right here. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. So
Heroku, with any app, and because we're using Flask SQL, what we have to do is set up our code to be able to handle a different database path based on what Heroku gives us.
Okay. Okay, that seems like a good idea. So what do we, so we need to, in your tutorial, you have us swapping that DB path to this one. Is that what you want me to swap with?
Yep. Yeah, okay. Swap it out there. So it's just like we did with our credentials. We're just going to make our database path an environment variable, which means we can store it as a Heroku configuration variable. It'll actually create it for us.
Okay.
And then it'll be super easy. That's all we have to do to our code. And then we just have to do one more thing in our Docker file.
Okay. Do I need to, I haven't ever set up my database URL.
That we'll be setting that up. So Heroku creates this config variable database URL, just like that. It's going to create it for you. So we're going to get everything set up that it'll work for us, and then we'll go to Heroku and create our database first.
Okay.
And then we'll be all ready to go because it will create this for us, and then we'll push the app to it once the database is already set up.
That makes sense. I think I just needed to hear it twice. Okay. So now I'm going to add to this step, our install. Yep. We're going to add to it the PyScogbog binary.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just one more requirement that is basically needed by the Flask SQL Alchemy to interact with the particular type of database we're working with now instead of the built-in Python one. It's just like a helper utility adapter type thing. So we just need to make sure we have it installed in our Docker image. And then we're ready to go.
Great. So now over in the tutorial, you have we're moving to our world of Heroku.
Yes. Ooh. So now we're going to do some Heroku stuff to get our database set up.
All right. So Heroku, I got to make sure. I think I'm logged in. I wonder what happens if you press any key. Oh, it's going to bring me to a new offline, or that's on a secret page. Yep, I'm logged in. Okay. Great. Right. Hey, look, it showed up. There it is. Okay, that's me. So then Heroku create, and we're going to call this app
Just make it something easy to remember because we'll be using that a lot, whatever the name is.
What did we call it when we were naming it for Q app, right?
Yeah. Okay. But that's going to be the tag on our Docker image.
Oh, so
in order not to confuse them, let's choose because we'll be using that tag as well.
Okay. So how about SMSQ?
Yeah, that'll work.
You feel okay about that? Okay.
Cool. I think you'll have to see if it's available.
It's probably not. Yeah. I'm gonna start with
so you might want to do like your last name dash SMSQ or something like that. Yeah. Because this is going to be the URL. It goes into the URL for it too, so it has to be unique.
Okay. Got it. All right, so
awesome.
Let's see. So now we need to create a database, is what you have here, and I'm gonna grab all of these things before our application name, and then I'm gonna go back to the code. Okay. Oh, that didn't grab nicely. Oh, I don't know. I'm just gonna type it out. Okay, Heroku, add-ons, create, and then we're gonna call Heroku Heroku looks like it's spelled weird if you say it too many times. Postgres.
Yeah.
QL. And then it's going to say hobby dev.
Yeah, colon hobby. So this is just saying we're doing a hobby dev. This is the free level of a database.
SMS Q. Q also looks like it might be spelled incorrectly if you look at it too many times, but that's not neither here nor there. So we have this database is empty. That is exactly what we wanted. That is exciting. Cool. So now we have to put our, okay, this is the part I've never done before, deploying the container to Heroku. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it should be really simple. So I would recommend you can open up, if you go to your Heroku dashboard and go to the settings, since you don't have any sensitive secrets in there yet, you can show kind of what the dashboard looks like, and you can show it automatically generates, now that you've done that last step, your database URL config variable.
Okay, that's interesting. Where do I find that? Let's see. It looks like in your tutorial you say go to Heroku dashboard under settings.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see that for some account settings. No, that's not what I want.
No. Are you in your app within your Heroku dashboard?
I am in my app. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. It's looking plain in the eye. Oh, okay. So now I see, that's probably not the phrase plain in the eye. It's like, it's looking me dead in the eye. That's a sad phrase. I don't want to say it. Or okay. Anyway, I don't know. Weird times we're living. Okay. So I just copy and pasted our Git URL. Is that what you wanted me to grab? I can't remember anymore.
No. You don't need to grab anything.
Okay. Anyway, back to business.
There should be a database URL in the config vars section.
Reveal
are you
config.
In that part of the settings?
Yes, I am. I'm in the reveal config vars section.
Yeah, you can reveal that one.
All right, I did.
It won't show the full thing.
I have I have the database URL as the key and the value of the Postgres one.
Okay. Cool. So now, what you're gonna want to do is put in your Nexmo key, Nexmo number, and Nexmo secret.
Into sorry, should I add another one? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So each one should be its own, and it's just done like with the name, like Nexmo _ key, and then the value being the key itself. So this you will want to do secretly because. Into your secret
I see. I'm
credentials.
looking at the way you did it in your tutorial. I understand now. All right. So this feels like a moment that I'm going to take this and take it offline. And I'm just going to have you all can look at what it's supposed to look like in your tutorial version. So I'm going to Nexmo key. What is my Nexmo key? I don't know. I don't know what my Nexmo key is. Yeah, I do. Okay. Cool. This is riveting stuff for you all to watch. Surely it is. Nexmo number. You're straying from the norm. Nexmo number goes before the secret.
I think it just reorganized them alphabetically.
Oh, okay.
After I first put them in.
Okay. You rebel.
That's my guess.
Nexmo secret. Okay. Okay, I have added my key, my secret, my number, and the database URL is at the top. And now I probably can press hide config and then bring it back onto our screen and show you all.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh. Okay. Let's see. Let's go back to your tutorial and see what you want us to do next.
Yeah. So the next step, you basically just want to rebuild your Docker container.
Okay.
I'm not sure if this is entirely necessary. If Heroku, when you push it, it probably rebuilds it. Oh. I'm not sure of that. But just to be safe, rebuild build it anyway, just to make sure there's no problems.
Okay.
With that additional step we added. So this is just installing that one additional
added
library. Yeah, you can see it went through the the first 3 lines. It just like skipped right through because it already had those layers. There were no changes made to it.
Oh, good.
So it just started on that 4th line there. Okay. And it went really quickly because it didn't need to install a lot of the stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So now we need to log into the Heroku registry. So do I just grab this? I don't put my own login?
You'll put that in Heroku login, and then I think it pops up again for you to, or it might automatically for credentials. I can't remember. But this will log you into the container registry so that you can push your container up. Yeah,
that was
I think
so
it just uses
easy.
Credentials from the CLI and manages it that way.
Okay, so now
yeah, there's just 2 more steps.
Okay,
and it's just.
Sorry, I'm not saying anything. I'm just like saying okay. So now I'm pushing Web A.
We're doing a push, and this is an important thing that I found with the Heroku one. Heroku allows you to define different types of containers. Basically, like there's web. I can't remember what they all are, but it needs a web one to kick off. Okay. You're telling it like this is like the starting kicking off thing. So you need to define it as a type web, and then you give it the name of your application.
Okay. I like the phrase Docker daemon. It feels like.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is, but it reminds me of Golden Compass. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever read that book, but some of my favorites. Anyway.
It's been a long time.
Well,
but I have read
the
it.
concept is that people have like daemons that are their physical form, but in animal form. Super cool. I mean, right. I don't know. I used to be an English teacher, so if anyone ever wants to talk about their favorite books while we're waiting for things to build, I'm your girl. Are you?
The cool thing about
Go ahead.
What we're doing here is it's taking a while to push all this stuff over, but if you do it again,
it'll go
it's
fast.
The same as like when you're building.
Okay.
It'll already be there.
Cool.
Only the stuff you change. But yeah, I am also, my parents, my dad was an English teacher. My mom was an editor. So
we
could have a separate live stream about that nerdy stuff.
I mean, we could dare we have a book club? I'm not sure. That could be really fun. I have so many things that I'm hoping to get through during quarantine. I'm finding the silver linings of it all. I am really I'm loving I'm really into audiobooks too, and so yeah. Oh, looks like it's all pushed. That's cool. Now it's telling us we have to run our release command, which is exactly, if you look over in your tutorial, what you told us to do. So Heroku container release web, and then our name of our queue. Okay. And it did it really fast, so it released it to the web, is what it's saying. Oh, that's super neat.
This is just like a flag saying, okay, it's available now to be used, or something like that. So that should be all you need to do.
We are at the end of the tutorial, which I'm nervous about now. Almost. Oh wait, no. It says no. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Launch your application from the Heroku dashboard, but then we have to go to next mode, update the webhook.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Should we do that first?
So let's just see if it's running, because if not, we'll troubleshoot that.
Oh, okay.
And then.
Sorry, actually, how do we go to our Heroku?
So, from your Heroku dashboard, there's a button somewhere to launch your app. Let me look at it.
In my Heroku, I see overview, and I see deploy.
Yeah. So I think on the overview
touching my
page.
Sorry. Ugh.
Let me look. Oh, I'm not sure. There's a button. But what you can do is you can just do, so the Heroku URLs are standard. You can copy that URL there. I have HTTPS with your application name .herokuapp.com, and that will show it. So I can even pull it up here.
I see. So okay, q.heroku.com. Wait, that's not right.
The letter.
It goes.
Yep. Herokuapp.com.
Okay. I don't think we have any viewers right now. Otherwise, that'd be super exciting for them. But we might have some in the future, and they will be excited for us for that moment. Okay.
Yeah.
I am too.
Excited.
So wait, we haven't tested this yet. I need to enter. Oh.
Well,
no!
Okay, so now you do want to go to your next one.
Oh my gosh, duh, Lauren. Come on. Get the program. Okay.
Just one more step.
Then we're almost there. Okay, so Nextmo. You are my favorite place. Try it for free. I'm gonna log in because I already have an account. Cool. Nextmo is becoming Vonage. Okay, so let's see. We want our applications, and we called this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what we called this. Did we create an app?
I don't know if we did create an app for it. It might just be associated with
I think I must have linked the numbers. Wait.
I think we decided we didn't end up linking the number on the call just for speed, because you don't need a application. There's this SMS stuff, theoretically. So it's probably, you just need to find the number that you're using.
Okay, I got it. I think it was, let's go back to our 203 was the area code. I've got codes in different. Okay, yep, you're right. So here we are. I have our ngrok, and it was our old ngrok that we had pulled up. So it looks like in your tutorial you said your webhook inbound. So I need to replace it with my cool. Everyone's watching me not be able to highlight things. That feels fun. I don't know. It's like I discover new things that I'm awful at every stream. Okay, so I'm changing your application name to. Ooh, I hear my dog Cub in the background. Okay, and I'm not forwarding it to anything. Okay. Cool. So now I've done that. Do I have to do anything?
No, that should be it, because that will handle from the Nextmo side. Now it will be able to take any of the incoming numbers, so it doesn't change anything on your application side. So now you should be able to text it. And
9124. And then wait, what do we say again? We say hi. Yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
Did you do it too?
Go. Oh, works. No, I didn't yet, but I can.
Maybe if anyone else wants to join, no one's watching. Wow, that is just.
Well, this is running now. You can keep it running as much as you want if people want to join.
Okay,
whenever.
We will.
And it's at the free tier Heroku, so you can just kind of let this run.
And then everybody remember, if you want to cancel it, you can write cancel. Hey, and then watch. I'm gonna send it. Cancel 1. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, wow. That's a cool app, and it's deployed. Go to that website if you want to join our queue. I'm going stir crazy.
And now, because of the way we set up our database, Heroku does this thing where it automatically refreshes your containers periodically. I think it's once a day, or I don't remember exactly, but so if we had it set up the way we previously did, you lose everyone in line. But now because our database is separate from the application, it's outside of the container. That means when our container restarts, it just finds our database and connects with it. So I've done a couple of tests on Heroku, just like restarting the containers, and it seems to maintain state. So
wow.
Yeah, it works pretty well. I'm sure there's ways to continue to make it improve for production, but now that you have this Docker image, you can just deploy it anywhere that runs Docker. As long as you can set the port and the database variables, it'll be good to go.
It's under an hour that we just did that together, that you walked me through that. That is rad. That is so well. Cool. I'm so, wow. I mean, I'm just like, I'm thrilled. I had no clue how long that was going to take. I think I allowed Docker to be something that was kind of scary for me. And I totally see, like, you helped me 100% make sense of it. I have so much more to learn, but like core concepts I'm foundationally building on right now. And that feels really awesome. And like in pushing it to Heroku was like so simple. So, I mean, like, you're welcome, Heroku, because we think you're fabulous. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, yay, great third-party partnerships. But like, wow, holy smokes, I'm impressed. That was super, thank you. I mean, you're a great teacher too, though. So yeah, we're gonna keep this browser, this app going. So if you're watching this stream and you want to get in line for our imaginary deli station in the cloud, then please, or like deli station, like, I don't know what, I'm trying to imagine what are the things that people get in line for.
It could be anything. Like I was at the basically the DMV the other day. I had to get new license plates for the car.
This would have been
something
nice.
like this would have been really nice. You know how many people are in line.
Wow.
So you can put yourself in line without being there. Especially nice right now if you need a way to set up something where people don't actually have to be in the same physical place to claim a spot in line.
Timely. Oh my gosh.
So yeah.
Zach, this is phenomenal. Okay, I am going to let you go then, because we have reached the end of our tutorial. You walked us through the end of it, and we feel, thank you so much for teaching me this. This was super fun. And thank you everyone for following along and watching this stream today. This has been a really fun session of Lauren Learns Things. And be sure to check out our other streams that we have on this channel. Tomorrow we have Developer Drop-In, and that is in which two of our developer advocates are going to be chatting and talking about a lot of our different products and kind of just having a hangout, maybe in office hours, if you will. So definitely participate in that and be a part of our community, if you will. So thank you. And again, Zach, thank you for being a stellar guest today. I'm just feeling wildly accomplished for 3:00 in the afternoon in my world.
Awesome.
So okay, cool.
Yeah,
well, I'm going to say goodbye and transition to our standby view. And let's see, I'm going to remember how to turn off my microphone. Oh yeah, it's right here. Bye everyone.